The Marvel Cinematic Universe is 22 films in. With a whole new phase mere months away from release, it's so safe to say there's been quite a lot to take in. From the fairly linear, straightforward beginning in Iron Man to the mind-bending time travel antics of Avengers Endgame, viewers have witnessed so many heroes and villains displaying superhuman and enhanced powers that it's become ever more difficult to remember who can actually do what. There's the obvious powers that the characters possesses, such as Iron Man's repulsor tech, but if you sit down and think about each character individually, you start to remember the odd things that they did once or twice that would have been incredibly useful in a number of the MCU set pieces. It could be down to the massive number of different directors and screenwriters, but quite a few of the powers you've forgotten MCU characters have were either shoehorned into either support the plot or never used again because they were genuinely forgotten about by the filmmakers themselves. So let's take a trip down memory lane, shall we? I am Kirsten from What Culture, and these are 10 powers that you forgot MCU characters had. Number 10, GROOT, Elasticity. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, we were introduced to a very unusual character duo in Rocket Raccoon and his best friend Groot. Limited to the words, "I am Groot." Exclusively in that order, the character's development opportunities seemed limited from the get-go. However, Groot has become one of the MCU's most beloved characters thanks to his sacrifice to save the Guardians at the end of the first film, and his rebirth as Baby Groot in the sequel, not to mention his adolescent form in the core Avengers movies. But there's one power Groot has displayed once or twice that the Guardians really could have made use of in the final battle with Ego. Groot has the power to stretch near indefinitely, meaning that there was truly no need for Baby Groot to risk it all carrying the detonator into Ego's brain before pressing the button. All he needed to do was reach in, set the detonator and press the button, right? Sure, Baby Groot might not have developed control of his power just yet, but that seems like a cop-out just to up the stakes in the final battle with Ego. Number 9, Scarlet Witch, Force Field Generation. To quote Maria Hill, Wanda Maximoff is weird. Her MCU character origin saw her develop incredible psionic powers after being experimented on by Baron Strucker, using Loki's scepter, but Wanda's full skill set is never really explained beyond Maria Hill debriefing the Avengers after their encounter with the twins. As such, we have to rely on what we have seen in the MCU to really know what Wanda can do, and we've seen quite a lot of mind affecting, energy manipulation, and a fair bit of levitation, but there's one power she has that would be so very useful if only she could remember that she has it. Displayed briefly in Age of Ultron, Wanda can generate protective force fields around herself and others, so you have to think almost immediately that surely Quicksilver might not have bitten the dust quite so soon if she had utilised this forgotten ability to protect her brother. Perhaps the concern remains that Wanda could become massively overpowered by comparison to her fellow Avengers, but with Captain Marvel way up there on the power rankings, Wanda could probably revisit this power without too much imbalance. Number 8, Loki, Illusion Manipulation. It's very unlikely that Loki's shape-shifting illusion skills would have deceived Thanos himself, but it is utterly baffling that one of the universe's most wanted spends so much time walking around looking like himself. On Earth, for example, virtually everyone will recognise him as that terrifying guy who tried to take over the world. They would no doubt alert the Avengers and he'll get his backside handed to him once again. When you can make yourself look like anyone else, why aren't you? Not only can Loki shapeshift, as evidenced in Thor: The Dark World, amongst other entries, but he can create illusions so convincing that even primary villains in the MCU have bought into his deception. Hopefully this power is revisited in the upcoming Loki series, but it remains to be seen. Number 7, Hulk, Immortality. More an instance of forgetfulness on the part of the filmmakers than the fans. It is established very early on that Avengers Assemble that the Hulk will not allow Bruce Banner to die, and yet once the big guy is given a dose of the stage fright by Thanos, Banner spends most of his time terrified of being hurt or killed by the various forces of evil. It makes sense that Banner would operate the Hulkbuster to contribute to the battle in Infinity War, but it just doesn't add up that Banner wouldn't put himself in mortal danger to coerce the Hulk into emerging to save his own green skin. It's clear that the Hulk isn't completely invincible, given that using the Infinity Stones shrivels his arm up to near uselessness, but the character is supposed to be nigh on indestructible. Every instance of Banner being put in danger of dying has seen the Hulk appear, so there's no need for the character to fear death. The MCU has been completely consistent in this from Ed Norton's turn as the Hulk, right through to present, barring this weird decision to completely ignore it for the sake of the plot. Number 6. Ant-Man, communicating with ants. Ant-Man's standalone movie is one of the most complete films in the entire MCU, with probably some of the best casting of them all. Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas have excellent soft comedy chemistry alongside Corey Stoll as one of the MCU's best villains, but the term standalone is very, very applicable given how few of Ant-Man's powers are carried forward. Shrinking down and scaling up in size seems to be all Scott Lang is good for these days, besides a bit of quantum realm familiarity. And so it's disappointing given that the Ant-Man training montage is one of the best parts of the film. We get to see Scott struggling to grasp everything the Ant-Man suit enables him to do, and he struggles with nothing more than communicating with Hank Pym's ants. Yes, naming his chosen ant steed Anthony is a throwaway cringe, but the ants themselves are vital to the success of the film's plot, and deserve better than to be completely ignored post-Ant-Man. The likelihood of this power making its return from the quantum realm of forgetfulness is bleak indeed. Number 5. Thor, storm manipulation. The God of Thunder is easily among the strongest Avengers shown in the MCU so far, but his entrance in Avengers Assemble showcased a power we have yet to see since: storm manipulation. After successfully capturing Loki, the Avengers' Quinjet hits some turbulence and the Asgardian comments that he isn't overly fond of what follows a thunderstorm. Thor arrives and takes his adopted brother for a chat in the woods, an excellent scene on the whole. However, having conjured the storm, Thor then faces off against Iron Man and calls down lightning to strike Stark's armour. This gives an enormous power boost to the Iron Man suit that surely could have been used to some tactical advantage in the later films, but we'll never know. Number 4. Iron Man, precise targeting. Tony Stark is a self-proclaimed genius, billionaire, playboy philanthropist, and his cutting-edge technology is displayed for all to see throughout the MCU. But there is one particularly useful feature he has seemingly abandoned: the precise targeting system. In the first Iron Man movie, Stark eliminates members of the terrorist group who captured him on his return to the Middle East, without harming the civilians they are using as human shields. So how does Stark ever miss his shots? If he has this technology at his disposal, then why are there ever any instances of wayward repulsor blasts from his suits? Sure, the opponent might pull off a superhuman dodge, but to have had the option of precise targeting and then to discard it after a single use is just so confusing. Number 3. Doctor Strange, time looping. Doctor Strange is a very confusing movie full of magic, mystery, and mind-boggling CGI, but the conclusion is probably the most straightforward but forgotten part. Faced with the great evil Dormammu, Strange creates a never-ending time loop that cannot be escaped from unless he chooses to end it. Dormammu begs for release and Strange saves the world. Maybe not the strongest ending to an MCU film, but it does give us an insight into what Doctor Strange can do with the Eye of Agamotto, later revealed to house the Time Stone. Or at least it tried. You see, this tactic would have been rather useful to keep Thanos occupied when the Mad Titan tried to take the Time Stone from Strange as an inescapable void of time that had no bearing on the wider universe. So this power is destined to be a one-time use only by the looks of things, despite how incredibly useful it could have been during pretty much all of Strange's later appearances in the franchise. Number 2. Vision, phasing. Vision is another strange character to figure out, given that he is a fusion of Ultron's perfect body, the Mind Stone, and Jarvis, Tony Stark's former AI system. Logically, Vision should be one of the most intelligent Avengers, and easily one of the most powerful, as his skill set is literally derived and powered by an Infinity Stone. That is until you realise that Vision is more than just a former operating system that can shoot energy beams from his forehead. He can also completely rearrange his body's makeup to phase through just about anything, and this begs the question as to why he didn't just phase through Thanos' grip. Surely passing through the Mad Titan and getting a clear shot at him would have gone some way towards taking him down. Happily, there is a chance we may see these powers applied in the forthcoming WandaVision series. Number 1. Captain America never gets tired. The super soldier serum gifted Steve Rogers with much more than just peak physical fitness. It also amplifies his nature as a tenacious, pure-hearted character and gave him the opportunity to fight what he believes in. But once again, the filmmakers forgot one of Steve's powers by the time Avengers Endgame hit cinemas. Steve never ever gets tired. Almost immediately after his creation, Steve chases down a Hydra agent who murdered Dr. Erskine and stole a sample of the super soldier serum. Steve runs after the Hydra agent's car to an area of New York's docks before collaring the culprit scarcely out of breath. This whole scene is in place to show the viewer that Captain America never slows down. Spin the clock forward to 2019 and Avengers Endgame pits Steve against his slightly younger self in a fistfight. After the younger Cap lands one on Endgame Steve Rogers, he is visibly fatigued and struggles to his feet. I think it's very clear that the filmmakers forgot this essential facet of Captain America's power set. And that's our list. Did you forget about these MCU characters' powers? Some of these filmmakers clearly did. If you did, leave us a comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, click that subscribe button. But for now, I have been Kirsten from What Culture, and I will see you in the next video.